The other day, Ruth Bader Ginsberg had some harsh words for Donald Trump. Not overly harsh. I'll share them with you right now. She said, told the New York Times that she can't imagine what the country would be with Donald Trump as our president. Well, that makes sense. I can't imagine that either. I know she's a Supreme Court justice. I suppose she's not supposed to say that. She said, for the country, it could be 4 years. For the court, it could be, I don't even want to contemplate that, because it's true. Obviously, there's a Supreme Court opening, and there might be more. And the next president might nominate several Supreme Court justices. I don't know if you guys know this. Ruth Bader Ginsburg is liberal. She's, I'm certain, a Democrat. She was appointed by a Democratic president. But the Supreme Court likes to pretend that they're not political. When, in fact, the Republican justices almost always vote with Republicans, and the Democrats do likewise. Now, Democrats actually side with the conservatives more often because they usually agree with corporatist positions. Not all the time, but some of the time. So she went on to say on Monday, Justice Ginsburg doubled down, calling Mr. Trump a faker who has no consistency about him. In that interview with CNN, she added, he says whatever comes into his head at the moment, he really has an ego. Look, these are the lightest criticisms of Donald Trump we have ever seen. Finally, she added, she quoted her late husband, Martin Ginsburg, saying, now it's time for us to move to New Zealand if he wins, right? All right. Who are we kidding? We know that the liberal justices vote for the Democrats and the conservative justices vote for the Republicans. And in fact, the Supreme Court in Bush v. Gore handed an election to George W. Bush. And those 5 Republicans who claimed that they were for states' rights, ignored Florida's states' rights, completely trashed their president to vote for the politician that they agreed with. This is a fiction that we go around pretending is real when it isn't. And what did Donald Trump do in reaction? Well, he said, she's a disgrace to the Supreme Court. He went on to say, for her to come out and say these kind of things, there's almost something wrong with her, questioning her mental faculties. So what he said about her is much, much harsher, but that's Donald Trump, so nobody blinks an eye, and everybody's like, oh yeah, that's Donald being Donald, but Bader Ginsburg should definitely apologize. And so they went after her and went after her. I, of course, thought she shouldn't apologize, but she's a liberal, so she did. She came out today saying, on reflection, my recent remarks in response to the press inquiries were ill-advised, and I regret making them. Judges should avoid commenting on a candidate for public office. In the future, I will be more circumspect. Now, the reason I don't think she should have done that, even though what I think she did was a tiny bit wrong. Theoretically, the Supreme Court justice should pretend to be apolitical. But you don't apologize for it, because then you raise the flag saying, yes, I'm the one who was wrong. It's my fault. You guys were right. It's the liberals that are the problem. Are you kidding me? Scalia, when he was alive, and Clarence Thomas, they go to Koch brother events. They get stuff paid for there, fancy retreats, and then they judge cases which the Koch brothers have an interest in. That is 1,000 times worse. That's 1,000,000 times worse. That's a real conflict of interest. Do they ever apologize? No, they never apologize. So the press goes, oh, they didn't apologize. They must be fine. It must be totally fine. But Ginsburg apologized, so the liberals are guilty. Don't do it. Liberals, you stop apologizing. Does it ever work anyway? Does anybody ever go, oh, yeah. Look at Trump. You know what he did with the apology? He said, it wasn't really an apology, but we have to move on anyway. And then he added, she acknowledged she made a mistake, and I'll accept that. In other words, rub your face in it. And I kind of, but not really accept it. And so, ha, got you. So my final judgment is, liberals, for God's sake, stop apologizing.